You wouldn't let somebody else tell you how to spend my money. And they paid you back. You talked about multiculturalism, and yet not a one of you is in partnership with a Korean. Not one of you is in partnership with an Arab. Not one of you is in partnership with white folk. Where are the multicultural businesses? Where are the multicultural economic situations? What are you talking about, multiculturalism? Where is it? They laid it on you. And yet in Blueprint for Black Power, I talk very straightforwardly about the Korean organizations. All right. I named the presidents. We are calling names here, ladies and gentlemen. All right. And they are called the Korean Producers Association, the Korean Grocers Association, the Koreans of Greater New York Association. One has convinced us that thinking conceptually is a non-African mode of thought. Somebody comes telling us that we are a non-linear people, that we are spiritual and intuitive, and that thinking logically and thinking analytically and thinking conceptually is somehow the property of white folk. God gave you two sides to your doggone brain. And one brain in one side is for intuition, one side is for holistic thinking, one side is for spiritual thinking, yes. But you got another side. That's that left side that is the side of logic, that is the side that uses symbols, that is the side that uses analysis. God gave you two sides. He gave you a logical side and an intuitive side. Don't let any joker tell you that your only role is to be intuitive and to be people who can only estimate and approximate. How can you look at the great pyramids of Egypt and the great mathematics and then turn around and say that you are only a spiritual and intuitive people? You've got to be crazy. All right. Let me tell you, and this is one of the problems I want to talk about when I talk about nationalists. Be careful that in your effort to separate yourself from white folk, you don't wrap white stereotypes in kente cloth. Okay? And this is happening to a lot of us. The same stereotypes that these people have laid on us, that we can't think straight, we can't think logically, we are emotionally oriented, must become a people who can analyze words. You must become a people with a vast vocabulary. You must become a people who can process the highest words and the most difficult words rapidly, because these are the people who are opposing you and who intend to bring your life to an end. Be careful. Right. Let me tell you quickly what these institutions will do for you. You think they're just collections of intellectuals thinking, right? Forget it. Let's look at what the Ford Foundation did here when they decided to transform the nature of social science and the way social science research was done. And they decided they would recreate the whole nature of scientific research, social science research in the universities. They created what they call a foreign area fellowship program. And they financed it. They granted over $23 million to research of Indians and the stealing of their lands. So that the economic course essentially is a course in how the booty is going to be divided among American people. That's right. When you look at the real world, you note that people establish themselves economically first by taking over economic resources and viable resources. That's it. You study your own history. How did the Empire of Mali come into being? How did Ghana come into being? How did Songhai come into being? Struggles over what? Gold and salt, and who won, and over trade routes and other things. And people went to war and took those things from one and another. And those who gained control over them then built empires and nations and so forth as a basis of that. Not just studying economics 101 and business administration. But you got to learn real history. You got to learn a history that goes beyond just the celebration of African heroes and the celebration of African culture. You got to learn how it's really done in the world. So these people now, many former fellows have added to our knowledge of the non-Western world through the publications of the results of research. Altogether, they have published some 373 books, over 3,000 articles and short monographs. Moreover, they have edited or contributed to another 516 volumes. This is how you change minds. What is going on with Henry Louis Gates? What is going on with Cornel West? Who says that black leaders, serious black leaders, must be race transcending? You know, the hell you going to be a serious black leader and be race transcending? You know, but that's the dilemma of the assimilationists. They want race and not race at the same time. They want to organize black people based on blackness so that they can get rid of blackness. They want to use your black interests, your black feelings, and your black identity to advance their program so they can tell you later that blackness does not matter, that color has nothing to do with it. We are better off when we don't even refer to ourselves as black.
They're here, and they have, been freed. And what happens upon freeing these people that you have consistently demonized, dehumanized, victimized, and oppressed? How do you coexist? And some, like Thomas Jefferson, didn't believe it was possible to coexist. Suggests that they should be moved way beyond, back to Africa, away from the memory, the 10,000 recollections, to quote him, of what has been done to them. That he believed would end up causing the extermination of one or the other race, white or black. He didn't believe they could coexist because we'd remember what was done to us. So what do? You erase the memory. And education in America has done just that. They have placed us in history in a way that allows them. Case in point, the Negro problem. The Negro problem, which was part of the white man's burden, they kind of reframed this whole enslavement issue by saying, we're just trying to civilize you. Mm-hmm. Do you see? So again, we have to understand how that operates systemically. So now what we're saying in an educational arena is that basically this whole idea of enslavement was for your own good.
Listen. Celebrate you. Be glad to be you. Be you at the best you can be. Don't be no second-rate you. Don't be no mom and pop you. Be skyscraper you. Be trade center you. Be Main Street, Park Avenue you. Be Guggenheim Museum you. Yeah, you see, we have problems celebrating ourselves because we don't know how important we are yet. We don't know the power of what we are, so we don't know how to celebrate. So we think Black History Month is enough. We think a kente cloth shawl is enough. We think to have 2 black books on the shelf is enough. We need it everywhere. We should never take another of our child and put him on any white man's knee. It's not accidental. Listen, it is not accidental that you understand that there was no mathematics understood in this world. There were not even any mathematical symbols until Africans gave the world mathematical symbols by which they could begin to build a concept of going in outer space. You need to know that. Your children need to know that. There was not even a concept of geography. The concept of geography was so distorted and so misunderstood that the Europeans thought they'd go off to the edge of the world and fall off the side until Africans said, don't be no fool. The world is round, my friend. It's round, it's like a ball, it's like the sun, it's like the stars, it's like everything. It rolls and rolls and rolls. You can't fall off the edge because you're tied to this earth. Pop in Leonard Jeffries in the tape, pop in Asa Hilliard, pop in Francis Wilson, pop in Francis Rogers Rowe, pop in one of my tapes. hear something that sounds like you. We don't have to be 100% accurate. Just let us be looking in the right direction. And let you say, that sounds good. That sounds like me. I don't know whether it's true or not, but it sure sounds right. That's all you need. White folks ain't always accurate, but they always white. And so look, we may not always be accurate, but we always black. And that's what counts. So we need to begin to build to do that. We need to understand the importance of relearning, re-educating ourselves. You see, it's important. I mean, it's not just ritual to say that we were the designers of human civilization in its infancy. It's not just symbolic to say that we were the builders of the Sphinx and the pyramids. We understood the metaphysical message that created that symbolic replica that has been standing for thousands of years, watching Ra rise on the horizon day in and day out, year in and year out, for thousands of years, replicating the cycle of understanding that was laid out in those early understandings of the metaphysical reality of this world. It is not just accidental that we understand that the earliest concept of medicine and healing, the use of pharmacology, the use of the mind, the use of surgery, the use of healing was first done by black, kinky-haired, big-nosed, thick-lipped, blue-black people who look like you. It's already in the very roots and the foundation of our nature. Our personalities were being free. You see, what our people tried to tell us for thousands of years is that we are, in fact, in the image of God. Our mind is the repository of the divine energy of the very universe itself. You cannot capture and captivate the creative force of the very universe. It is there in us. God is not external to our reality. God lives within us. That's why white people put their faces on it and claimed it to be theirs. That's why they claim God as being a foreign entity, because they did not want you to understand that God is working through us right now, and the process of our liberation and freedom has already been decided by the very structure of the universe itself, and there's no force on this earth can deter what God has put into place. And if you will understand that God is not a white man, he is not a white Jesus, he is not a white Allah, he is not an Arabic speaking foreigner who comes from another land, that God is the living creative spirit that works and operates through you right now. If you will understand that, there will be no more slavery and we will be free tonight. Peace be unto you.